Thank you so much, guys. That was a really amazing answer. I like that a lot. Thank you. Let's do another one. How does one help, especially the younger children who are distracted? And how does one help to ground and regulate them?
Sure, I've got to say this has been a learning journey. In the beginning, because I haven't been teaching for that long, bear in mind I've only been doing online teaching for a year. I think I'm hitting a year now. Yeah, it's a year. So I really had to figure it out, and it was quite stressful with those kids that get distracted, are not interested, and you think, what am I doing wrong? Is it the lesson material? Is it me? And I think once you relax and get past the feeling that the kids must do everything according to the lesson and they must perform like this, I think once you relax and understand that kids need to move, and this whole, I understand we've got class rules and this whole sit well, don't move, but it's not really realistic. We actually want to encourage movement,
Especially the little ones. They have so much gross motor development to still do, so their bodies instinctively feel this need to get to this developmental milestone. So
and they can't always control it. They can't control their movement. Sometimes there is emotion or pent-up energy that's in them. We know things that happen in our day get stored in our body. That's a scientific fact, and the emotion sits there and impacts certain bodily functions. So if you've got a kid that's fidgeting all the time, can't sit still, wants to play with this, there's usually a really valid reason behind it. And giving them a hard time about it is not going to help the situation. So I encourage that body movement. I just say, okay, then let's stand up and do this. Can you read this sentence while you're standing and running? Can you still read it? It's just encouraging them, bringing in movement into the lesson. For example, I've got a kiddo that gave me such a headache because I really didn't know what I was doing wrong, because she just did not want to follow the lesson. And I was worried. The mom was there, and the mom was never saying like she needs to follow the lesson. She was just letting her run around and play hide and seek. And I was just like, what am I doing wrong? And then when I put that aside and I thought, no, what does the child need? She's moving around. She is interacting a little bit, but she is also not wanting to do the things that I'm asking her to do. So what does that mean? She probably needs more sensory stimulation. She's probably needing tactile stimulation. She probably needs to touch and move around, and she can't help that. And she probably needs a sense of control. So she's probably wanting to control what's happening in the lesson, and either her mother or I trying to get her to do it the way we think it should be done is not going to help. She's going to resist. So we kind of just, after having lessons with her and picking up, she likes to cut, for example. She loves to cut. So now we cut things during the lesson while we do the lesson. So she cuts, I do the talking or getting her to interact as much as I possibly can, which is not always a lot, but it increased over time. It's taken months for her, but now she's starting to do the lesson material, and it's taken this long.
Your relationship with her has really brought it to this point. And here I want to return to that concept of attunement, where you can emotionally attune with the child, but you can also attune to their sensory needs. And for this particular child, the sensory need was that her sensory temperament is one where she needs more stimulation, and picking up on that is great. Similarly, if you have a kid with quite a sensitive sensory temperament, then you're not going to be as loud and as big and bombastic on the screen. You're going to tone it down a little bit and see if they're covering their ears. Okay, this is too much. Let's turn the volume down. Let's take it easy with this one. So kind of attuning and watching the child and tracking their body language and their facial expressions and their reactions to things to see what is it that I need to do here to help them to focus a bit better.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And I think that's where the options also comes in, giving that sense of control. Oh, this is a reading lesson. I can see you don't really feel like reading today. That's okay. I tell you what, you listen while I read. It's not going to happen every lesson, but it's giving you an option. Or would you like to read this sentence or that sentence?
Yeah.
Would you like to read this page or that page?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they've got control over what happens in the lesson.
Yeah.
And it's not, I do want to put out to the teachers there, it's not a magic fix, because it's not all of a sudden you're going to give a kid options and they're just going to do everything. a lot of the kids are actually not used to being seen. They're not used to having emotions validated. They're not used to being accepted. They're not used to being given this. And they're going to first resist even more because what is this? I can't trust this. I don't understand this. And they will often push you and push your buttons harder to get the reaction they usually get from their parents. So you'll find some kids will actually push you even harder. And it's because they're waiting to get yelled at. They're waiting to get a slap. They're waiting for that because that's what they know. And all of a sudden they don't get it. Yeah, it is. And all of a sudden they don't get it. So they decide they've got to push even harder and really resist what you're doing, because now they're sure this will get the reaction they're so used to, because once they get that reaction, then what's the word I want to use, where it's becomes predictable for them.
Yeah, and then they can relax and then they feel safer again.
Because this is the reaction they're used to. And then it'll take time for them to see you're not going to react with anger or frustration or irritation. And they will eventually be able to relax with you and follow your lead.
That's awesome. I love it. I've got this little girl that likes to draw, and she needs to draw the whole time during class. And I was the same at first. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, well, blah, blah, blah. But I started realizing that sometimes she's writing the words that we're doing. Sometimes she's drawing pictures of the things we're doing. And then she'll like show me, you know? So I just let her draw. And I know she's taking it in because she can repeat it well afterwards. But it's really
That's
cute.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
It's so cute though.
Even a more interactive kind of way of learning sometimes.
Sometimes, I think you need to sometimes write or draw. Some kids need
and
that.
On that note, Glula, something like that, you know, where sometimes we're maybe concerned that our company is going to think that they're not paying attention, or the parents are going to think they're not paying attention. I put in the feedback notes, I say, I see that you are drawing and writing this. This is wonderful. I see that you need to do this as a way for you to concentrate. We need to encourage this. So I really give that feedback to the parents. And this is, again, where we bring them in as co-teachers.
That's cool. I like that a lot too. Definitely good advice. Thanks, guys. Very nice. Perfect. Okay. The next one I want to ask you is, how do you deal with a student who doesn't want to follow the lesson material, who isn't interested, and who displays a lot of resistance?